Here's the steam tractor all crated up, and before I finish packing it, I want to show the next owner how to put it back together. Going to make this as quick as possible so this video fits on YouTube. Here we'll start with the smokestack. There's hardware in here, and as I explained in my ad, it'd be much easier to put the smokestack back on with the Allen head cap screws that I have, because then you can get to them to tighten them when they fit back in this countersunk hole. You can get an Allen wrench on and turn them. The original bolts are in there, but you can't get to the bolt heads to put this stack back on. You really can't turn them while holding the nuts on the inside front of the boiler. So I included some Allen head cap screws that would mount on the front. On the steam engine itself, we have the flywheel. There's two Allen head set screws on the flywheel. And I have zip ties here holding the spacer. The spacer goes on the inside, just as I have it zip tied there. Slide it on, should go on fairly freely, and leave just a little bit of room with the spacer. Leave just, a couple thousandths room there for any side play on the crankshaft on the steam engine. So that's just held on with two Allen head set screws. Spacer goes towards the engine. Let's go to the, I'll show you the pressure regulator. This is the pressure regulator I'm including. It's a Harbor Freight regulator, nothing special about it, but the needle on this regulator does stick. I haven't really had any more than 80 pounds or so in the boiler section here. The pressure valve, the pressure indicator on the steam engine itself, it seems to be much more accurate than the cheap Harbor Freight valve on my regulator. So I would go by that more than the gauge that's on the regulator. This little threaded nipple here goes in this valve that's on the side of the boiler, and turn the valve on and just allow the pressure into there, and that's how you can run it on air pressure. On the let's see, I'm probably going to take this valve, unscrew this valve off the top here. This is for to allow the pressure into the steam engine. Let me focus there. This is below my crate, but just in case something would push down on the top here, I don't want this to get broken off, so I'm probably going to unscrew this valve and include that in the bag with here's the cylinder oiler for the steam engine. That screws on here, and the longer part of the oiler faces down. You put a little Loctite on the threads and screw it in. It can't go in all the way completely tight because it won't go all the way around. It's kind of in an upside down position because it runs out of threads. That's why you put a little bit of Loctite on the threads and turn it in and have it so that it's in this position with the longer end facing downward, and you can see that in my photos. So that goes there. Going to the axle, here's the axle. The nut would be on the left hand side, so you would first put on the rear wheel that does not have the set screws on it. This one has a set screw on it. That's the drive wheel. That goes on with the sprocket on the right side. Here is the freewheeling wheel on the left hand side, and there's a spacer here, and the spacer goes in against the tractor, and then again this nut that I could leave on this side. This goes on the left hand side, so this would go in the wheel. So you've got the wheel and then the spacer, and then on the drive wheel side you have the sprocket, and I marked which side goes towards the tractor. The inside I have it marked. That goes towards the tractor, and the sprocket has a set screw on it. And then the drive wheel, there's a nut that goes on the end of the axle. I have that zip tied on there in the position where it's supposed to be. There are 2 indentations on the axle for the set screws. The one indentation, inner one, is for the sprocket, and the outer one is where the wheel goes. And then you complete that by putting the nut on the end. So the sprocket and the drive wheel are locked on the axle, and the one on the left hand side is freewheeling. And then you have your front wheels, and I zip tied the nut in place to show which one's the outside. It really wouldn't matter on these which way they go, but I'm zip tied it the way that I took them off. Wouldn't matter which one goes on either side. That doesn't matter. And I gave instructions in the ad on how to remove the tractor. This aluminum axle here is just for packing. It's just for holding it down while it's being shipped. So you remove the straps, unscrew those, and then you've got to take off this 2x4 board that goes across the bottom, and that's so you can lower the tractor, and this will clear. You kind of lift this up a little bit and then slide the tractor out. You could also take the screws out of these wooden pieces here in the front if you want to, but I don't really think you'd have to. It should go back far enough, and then the front will drop down, and I don't think you'll have any trouble there. And here is the chain then will go on. There's a master link. You can see the master link in there. Connects the chain back together. And that's really about it. I need to secure this crate in this box, so I didn't do that yet. I'm probably going to run some screws in. There'll be screws on the outside of the container to take off. I know there's going to be four for sure running into this. They'll keep this the crate secured in the box. And I believe that's about it. That's about it. So I think just because this is up high here, and if something would hit in this area during shipping, I don't want this brass valve to break. So I'm going to take this brass valve off. Just unscrew this here. And I will put that in the bag here with the cylinder oiler. And I keep thinking I'm forgetting something, but I can't think of anything else. Should you have any questions, please let me know. And thanks for your purchase.